We're live. Nice.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, aren't adults evil to kids nowadays? They are so evil. Disgusting. Evil people. I am James Hake. This is the Hake Report. It's Tuesday. Super Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. Hashtag pray for Nashville or something. 19 people at least have been killed is the current body count. Maybe more are missing too, I'm sure. It's crazy. Nashville, Tennessee. Beautiful place. I think I've been there. I've been to Memphis anyways, and I've been to other places in Tennessee. Lots of friends in Tennessee. So check in with us. You can call in 888-775-3773. And so there's a lot going on. You can check out Hake News from today. It was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show at the end of hours 1 and 2. But, oh man, there was so much that I was thinking of getting to. I was thinking of reading to you guys some of the Bible verses about the serpent with Eve, because I was telling you the general story, but I don't know if it caught on with you guys. But I'll get to that later, and maybe the meat sacrificed to idols, I may get to that. And the follow the money conspiracy theorists. It's interesting. Robert from Kansas is a fan of the show. I called him a snake because he's a constantly blaming the Jews in chat. Calling me a Jew sometimes, I think. There's a number of accounts that I think are him, right? But it's interesting that people, they're not that influenced by money, so they think anyways. But yet they think that other people are. It reminds me of the racism claim, right? Because everybody who cries racism against somebody else think that they themselves are not racist, or at least not the worst offender, or at least they know about racism. So they're accusing other people of being guilty of something that they themselves don't think that they're guilty of. They're the ones worshiping the money or making money out to be something that it's not. So, Robert from Kansas, if you think money is Jesse's God, I don't know, you got to check yourself. But anyways, yeah, the tornadoes hit Tennessee hard. And so just watch out, be ready, guys. Coronavirus still going around, I guess. Wash your hands. Don't kiss horses and dogs and animals, chickens. Bats. Don't eat the bat soup. But I want to get to this before I get to calls. I reported at the tail end of Hake News, and I teased it on the third hour, I believe, of the Jesse Lee Peterson show, that this study says that children are having nightmares. I got it from Drudge. Real news, right? Children are having nightmares over, quote unquote, climate change. And they call it eco-anxiety. And this is from Independent, which is a British paper. So, of course, the British people are much further along in their weakness than Americans, at least on the outwardly. They call it eco-anxiety. Children are losing sleep and having bad dreams over climate change, according to a study. And their solution is not to quit fear-mongering about fake, imaginary climate change hysteria, because that's what it is. It's imaginary things. What do children have nightmares about? Reliving old traumas and fears about the future and monsters. All things that don't actually exist anymore. The childhood trauma, the prior traumas are something that are over. unless they're living with a, an evil parent, which is usually the case, right? And it's crazy. So that's pure evil, propaganda, fear-mongering, but they don't see it that way. They don't see themselves, what they're doing. These, the media, the so-called scientists, climate scientists, psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, they're all evil. Bunch of fake scientists. There's no such thing as climate science, by the way. According to one Indian doctor, a pro-America Indian doctor, I think he's pro-America, who's come on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. He's been interviewed by Scott Adams, too, who's another smart guy who's been on Jesse's show, and The Fallen State. This guy says that there's no such thing as climate science. It's just physics. And he's a climate realist, kind of like a racial realist. People who believe in racism are not racial realists. People who scaremonger about climate change are not climate realists. So there's a growing number of children, according to Independent, which is a far-left British outlet. A number of children are being affected by what they call eco-anxiety. And there has been a couple of mass shootings inspired by this eco-anxiety, by who I think they called themselves eco-fascists. One guy was an Australian, and he went to Christchurch, New Zealand. And what are mosques doing in Christchurch, New Zealand? I don't know, but other than the weakness of whites. But he shot up a couple of mosques, and his idea was the whites are not the ones so-called overpopulating the world or the country, whatever. It is the Muslims, the immigrants. And so he attacked them and trying to scare them to make them leave. And also trying to start a race war. He's an accelerationist. He wants the Second Amendment taken away, and that'll make the whites mad, and then they'll start a big civil war. So he thinks, these dumb eco-fascists. And then there was another guy who shot up a Walmart, Hispanics, Mexicans, at a Walmart in El Paso. He was an eco-fascist who agreed with the guy over at the New Zealand shooting. And so that's more of young, dumb, brainwashed, maybe millennial, probably Gen Z, freaking out. Concern over ecological disasters, which don't even exist. New research suggests, in order to find out more about how children feel about climate change, BBC Newsround, BBC is the far-left British outlet, I think it's government-funded, but that's a side note, conducted a survey of 2,000 children ages 8 to 16, minors, I guess. The poll showed that young people feel frustrated and anxious about the state of the planet, with 80% saying the problem of climate change was important to them. Wow. Were you raised with the problem of climate change important to you, Joel?
We rarely even heard that even being discussed.
Yeah.
Even in school.
Yep.
Like, they would bring it up and make a joke about it, but then it would be let go.
Yeah.
It wasn't not a big deal at all.
Yeah. I remember hearing about global warming, but only come college times. But there's a lot of children have come through these things since me. The poll showed young people are feeling frustrated and anxious about the state of the planet, with 80% saying the problem of climate change was important to them, and more than a third said it was very important. Brainwashed. We have the climate change believer in the house, and I'm tempted to ask him if he's very concerned. He doesn't look like he's very concerned about anything. I'm getting scowls. But anyway, it's nearly 3/4, 73%, added that they are worried about the state of the planet right now. I don't think he loses sleep about it, including 22% who said that they were very worried when asked about their futures. Almost 3 in 5, 58%. Children said they are concerned about the impact that climate change will have on their lives. While many admitting these worries often come out in unusual ways, nearly 1 in 5, 19%, of the children surveyed admitted that they had a bad dream about the climate crisis. A bad dream? While 17% said that they had their sleeping and eating habits affected by their concerns. Weak white kids, right? When questioned about the action being taken by grown-ups to tackle the problem, A large number of children said they feel frustrated about the progress being made. Lack of progress, right? Ridiculous. More than half, 59% of participants said that they don't think that their voices are being heard on climate change. That's because children are to be seen and not heard, right? Halfway playing about that. But nearly two-thirds, 64%, don't believe in the people in power are listening to them enough when they talk about it. Turning innocent children, because children are innocent and they'll just, when they actually know something as opposed to being taught it, they are so innocent and real and it's so compelling. It's so nice. But you have the liberals brainwashing the kids to like say, oh, I'm okay with the gays. Gay is okay. I'm transgender. Oh, this climate change is real. Oh, we need gun control. That's not a child being innocent and knowing the truth for him or herself. That is a child being brainwashed and exploited. As you all know, right? You guys already know this. This is dumb. What's more, 41% said they don't trust adults to tackle the challenges that climate change presents. Turning children away from their parents and from like natural authority. I have some pictures of some of these experts who are speaking on this matter, and listen to the things that they say. Emma Citron, I have a couple of pictures of her. A consultant clinical child psychologist. Nice looking white woman. But inside she's evil. Said that young people often find it difficult to come to terms with the scale of the problem of climate changes and what often seems like a lack of response shown by governments and world leaders. This woman is evil. Public figures like David Attenborough and Greta Thunberg have helped young people voice their worries, and we have to make sure that we as adults listen to them and empower them by giving talks at school and their communities to help them become involved in positive change. That's what Emma Citron said. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. We all need to support them, not to feel hopeless, but rather to present to them hopeful and balanced messages about their futures and ensure that they get the right professional help if their anxiety is unduly high. That's this woman. That's cool, Joelle. Wow. Speaking of the results of the survey, Paul Plunkett, editor of BBC Newsround, said it is clear that children are passionate about protecting the planet. The climate strikes in 2019, that was pushed by Greta Thunberg. The climate strikes in 2019 showed, this is this man speaking, showed their determination to make their voices heard on environmental issues. The question the survey raises for parents and adults is how to show young people that as a society, we are committed to addressing the challenges raised by climate change, not dealing with the fear, the unnecessary fear of the kids. This guy is, you're evil. Dylon, bring him on my show. Because the survey suggests that at the moment they aren't convinced that we are dealing with it. Not that it's fake, not that it's imaginary, it's not real right now, but that, the adults need to justify the fear of the kids. In 2019, which was put in them by the adults, by the way. In 2019, Caroline Hickman, another woman, white-haired woman, leading psychotherapist from the University of Bath, issued a warning of rising levels of eco-anxiety among young people. Not that these, and so fake scientists creating the problem, fake scientists swooping in with fake solutions, this woman. Based on her research, talking to children about their feelings about climate change, Caroline Hickman argued that young voices are pressing for urgent change could act as a rallying cry to politicians around the world. That's child abuse. That's child exploitation. That's as evil as pushing the transgender children. You're evil, woman. Talking to children about climate change gives a fresh perspective on the absurdity of doing so little. About the climate emergency. She's justifying it. She has no idea about what an emergency it is. She's a psychotherapist. That's a fake scientist. And also highlights for young people the troubling disconnect between the politicians, what they say, and what they do, she explained. adding that the children bear an emotional burden of climate change much more courageously than the adults. What a lie. They're not courageous. They're losing sleep. Their eating habits are bad, and they're having nightmares. That's not courage. We owe it to them to share it. We all need to do more to listen to young people when they talk about climate change. This woman is disgusting. You're disgusting. You're evil. We all need to do more to listen to young people when they talk about climate change, as if they know anything. Through their experiences, we've all learned more about how we should take responsibility for the mess, apologize, and start to act. Totally evil. So, I just wanted to share that with you because it's just ridiculous. Let me get to Louis out of Idaho. Louis, thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, man.
Hey.
I want to talk about Joe Biden last night. He had nothing to say, James.
Joe Biden?
He was like 10 minutes late, and he spoke for 8 minutes, I think, at tops, and said nothing.
Joe Biden, because did he win was it last night that he won?
He's a joke. He's a clown. You know what? He's going to get the gay vote from Buttigieg and Amy, what's her name? Klobuchar.
Klobuchar, the woman's vote? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the lesbian, gay, well, who knows what, you know?
Right.
But then I don't want him to win the nomination so Trump could destroy him.
You know, I don't care who
100%.
wins. I don't care which Democrat wins the nomination. I just want to see them go up against Trump. That would be nice.
Trump, you know what? And you know what? Can I tell you this real quick?
Yeah.
I spoke to both of my parents I'm originally from New York. I live in Idaho now.
Yeah.
But my father told me today that Bloomberg is probably the best one for the nomination to beat him. And that's all they want to do is beat him.
Oh,
my mother said the same thing. My mother said the same thing.
Oh, to beat Joe Biden?
No, to beat Trump.
No, man, none of these guys can beat Trump.
No, I know.
Well, I mean,
the
people are so brainwashed that a lot of people will vote, so it may be close. But,
yeah.
You know, in terms of if anybody can beat the Democrats, it's Trump. And none of the Democrats can morally beat Trump. Like, they morally browbeat Joe Biden. I remember in 2012, during the, he was the vice president running for re-election, right? Vice president. And he was debating Paul Ryan, whom I foolishly voted for. I'm sorry, guys, you were right.
Paul Ryan was Speaker of the House. Better than Pelosi.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you kidding?
I mean, the reason I say that is because a lot of the so-called red-pilled people make the point that Paul Ryan is evil too. He's just driving America off the cliff at 30 miles an hour rather than 100 miles an hour, right?
100, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
Pelosi's out of her mind anyway, and she's wasted all the time.
Yeah, Paul Ryan's a kiss-up, and so yeah, we thought that he was like a Tea Party guy. I'm speaking for myself, and Jesse at one point thought he was a Tea Party guy. So people like us were suckered by the rhinos, but Trump really opened our eyes. I mean, they opened our eyes too because they were so weak repeatedly. And then Trump just showed us a politician can be actually a genuine person. And so that's why all these guys are fake. Like Bloomberg and Tom Steyer, I see them as a cheap imitation of billionaire Trump. Yeah, I understand what's his name has a lot of money, but he's not a genuine person. He's not You've heard his ads on the show. They're pretty empty.
You can buy ads forever and then some.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And that's what it is with America now, with the people, with the social media.
Yeah.
And, you know, he can do whatever he wants and they'll buy into it.
Louis, did you hear? Louis, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you?
I'm 49 years old.
Right on. Did you happen to hear my story about these kids being brainwashed to be scared of climate change?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think of that?
You know what? I think anything is possible. I think kids, of course, they're going to be brainwashed.
Yeah.
It's so easy. You know what?
Yep.
My older, my middle, except my middle son who was a Marine,
Yeah.
and my oldest and middle were brainwashed against my ex-wife. They hate me, you know. So
Oh, yeah.
I understand. Brainwashing is easy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. I don't know who said that.
Yeah. I know the expression. I know what you mean.
Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Just made up a name. Louis, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, cool, man.
Take care.
We'll talk another time.
All right.
Take it easy, bye.
You too. Jason out of Orange County, California. Jason, nice to hear from you. What's up?
Hi. How you doing, James?
Doing fine, thank you.
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound great, actually.
Okay. No, I just wanted to ask, because I noticed that you, Jesse, and the whole crew have like a really strong work ethic, and I also noticed that a lot of I'm 29, I'm 30. I just turned 30, and I noticed that a lot of like my generation lack work ethic, and I wanted to see if you agree with me that work builds like blue collar work, because I'm not rich. Blue collar, hands on, dirty jobs builds character.
Yeah,
Do you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that. I mean, it's interesting because some people, it's not everything for sure, but it's definitely valuable, and it does build character. It builds discipline, because people don't really, generally, people don't really have a self-discipline or a they're not driven by what they know is right within or whatever. And so they need that outside pressure, and it's a great, and don't hold that against yourself because it is a great outside pressure to bring out the best in you. And so, yeah, I do.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that outside pressure? Like someone saying,
if
hey,
you have
go to work?
Yeah,
Or
if you have a day off, most of your days off are less productive, right?
Correct.
Unless you already have a commitment that you are just committed to. Most of your days off are less
Correct.
productive, and in some cases you're supposed to have a day off and just be resting. But you'll notice that an outside pressure, like you have a commitment to a job, other people are expecting things of you, and you don't want to let them down. You respect them, or even you fear them. Or you just need money. Just all of those things work together to bring out the best in you and discipline you, and it's a good thing.
Do you see a lack of that in like I said, like my generation and younger?
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's affected. I think it's affected my generation. I mean, I'm basically the same generation as you. You're 30, I'm 38. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Part of it is school. School has been pushed on people rather than work, and the school has gotten easier. School has gotten less valuable, and work has been put off. Child labor laws, in my opinion, go overboard with it. And so there's been a big cultural thing, and parents have gone to spoiling their children, and in some cases not even realizing that what they're doing is actually spoiling. And, I was listening to the Bloomberg ad, and he talked about we need blacks to build generational wealth. It reminds me of there's a lot of black intellectuals that criticize the whites for being spoiled by generational wealth, and now he wants the blacks to be spoiled by that same generational wealth. For the most part, people that come from generational wealth, they don't end up good. They end up worse. Like good times create the spoiled kids, and then the spoiled kids create the bad times. And so generational wealth, except for Trump's kids who have a good work ethic because they were raised working, and they saw their father working. He took them on the job, and his father took them around. When his father, the grandfather of these kids, I read it in Bill O'Reilly's book, who was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. he would just take them around collecting rent with them. And that's, to me, that's like nice. Then you're not like throwing around the ball and stuff like that. It's not just waste of time sitting around and doing stuff. People have a false imitation of what parenthood should be, where you go to their games and stuff like that. That's so womanly. That's a false imitation of being a father. So anyways, yeah.
Right. And I don't mean to take up too much of your time, but it's just good to see good examples of work ethic coming from you, Jesse, and, you know, having to wake up so early to set up, especially for us that didn't have, you know, fathers growing up. And it's good to see examples like men like Trump and his kids. And because work has brought me a lot of character, and it's brought me a lot of structure in my life, because I was lazy before. And I just wanted to put that out there, see what you kind of thought of that.
Yeah, you know,
I work in a steel factory.
Wow.
And, I work 4 to 12. I work 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm off Sundays and Tuesdays, and it's just helped me in my life a lot.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me bring up this book, The 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Jesse Lee Peterson, you can buy it through Bond, rebuildingtheman.com. There's a store link in the menu. And this thing, this little guide, it has like stuff about work. Don't compare yourself to others. So don't like fall to like comparing yourself to Trump or me or Jesse or Joel or Nick. But just work, and don't work too much or don't work too little. Sometimes it's time to put a lot of work into your work, a lot of time. But I do recommend this book. It's cool.
Man. I love this show.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jason. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
The Steel Factory. That's awesome.
Right,
I respect that. Take care, man.
Yeah, but it's all Trump. Trump brought all those jobs back for people that didn't go to school. He even said it himself. I'm bringing back jobs for people that didn't go to school.
Yes, and rightly so. Those people are closer to wisdom than many, if not most, if not all, of the people who went to school. That's true. Appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah, exactly, James. No problem. Have a good one.
What was you about to say?
I said he really did say that. You should look it up. He said, "I'm bringing back the jobs for the ones that didn't finish high school.
Right on.
They struggled. They made bad choices, but now I'm bringing jobs back for them."
Yeah, you know, he's like, I hate the phrase "man of the people," but he interacts with regular guys, and because he's a regular guy himself. You know, these guys that are rich that aren't like Trump, they don't interact with the regular people. Trump does. He's like makes deals with everyone, and he gets along with everyone, and he really listens to people, and he respects what's respectable in people, and what's respectable is not usually their education, although he respects that too. But yeah, Jason, right on. Yeah, he said I love less educated people. And rightly so, because, you know, the less educated voted for him more because they're wiser. They can see reality. They're not brainwashed as much by the fake culture like these kids that are brainwashed by this climate change stuff. You got to be patient with the brainwashed people.
Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah. Right on, Jason. It's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
You ever come to church?
Yeah, bro. I'll call in. I haven't been able to go because of work.
Right.
But I'll try to see what I can do.
What'd you say your days are off are?
It's Sunday and Tuesday.
Okay. All right.
You remember me if you see me, James. I just haven't been to church in a while.
Okay. Cool. Well, right on, Jason.
Yeah.
Well, if you're able to come to the men's forum, man. I know it is kind of late because if you have to be at work at 4, but if you're able to come to the men's forum, do it. But if not, I understand. But
okay, James.
Anyway, we'll see you. Appreciate it.
You can come to work with me too, boss, if you want.
Nice. Take care, Jason.
All right, Jim. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jesse Lee Peterson said that he worked at the steel mill over in Gary, Indiana, I think, for 2 weeks, made a paycheck, and then took a one-way flight from via Southwest to LA in order to move out here when he was 18 or whatever. And he said that was the hardest work, and he'd rather work in the cotton fields picking cotton under the sun than work in the steel mill. But he did it for 2 weeks to make a paycheck so he could take a flight. That's cool. Old school. Nice. So, guys, I apologize. I'm talking to the D Live crew. Sean Bree, Dark Side of the Bear, what? Super Dave, who thinks that Ilhan Omar is pretty. I do too. Just on the outside, though, only. Garan Bear, Deplorable Girl, all you guys. I forgot to open the treasure chest yesterday, so Joel is going to make sure that he rings the treasure chest crack opening drop thing at 55. Is 55 a good time? Okay. Yeah, we'll do it. All right. Actually, if the Lord is willing and the creek doesn't rise, we will do it. And that means if we don't forget. All right? Terrible. So there's these, do I want to cover this? I was going to say there's these fake Christians, so-called evangelicals, liberals, who are like anyone but Trump, these evangelicals who plan to vote for Democrat. And that is ridiculous. And we all know that. But let's talk about something that more of us can relate to, because most of you guys are not Democrat and are not anyone but Trump. Let's talk about something that we can relate to. Let me talk more about this CPAC versus AFPAC thing, right? So over the weekend, late last week, there was this thing called CPAC, conservative whatever, political action convention, something dumb, right? I call it dumb, not because it's totally dumb, but because it's rhino, establishment, actual conservatives not welcome in some cases, right? Edgy people not welcome. And that's, in my opinion, not right. They do have the right to kick you guys out. I mean, a lot of people got kicked out. A lot of decent people, in my opinion, got kicked out. Some people were acting out. I watched a clip of Gavin McInnes, who founded Proud Boys, and then claimed that he's disassociating from them in order to protect the guys that defended him from Antifa. He was there and just cussing up a storm against these radical, evil, disgusting so-called journalists and leftist activists who were welcome at CPAC, including Jared Holt of Right Wing Watch, I think is what he's from, paid for in part by George Soros, but a disgusting person. And there's others, and he called them out. It was kind of funny, to be honest, but it was also kind of, vulgar. He was cussing, whatever, but maybe kind of mean, I guess, but he was calling them out. It was funny. He said, "You guys are hall monitors, tattletales. You tattletale for a living. What an existence." And he's right. But he got himself kicked out. A Jewish guy young guy, who came to the men's conference. I like the guy. What's his name? Jacob Wall was kicked out. I don't know. I don't know if Vincent James of Red Elephants, who's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show in the Fallen State, was kicked out or not. I thought he might have gone. I know that he went to AFPAC, America First, which is a competing pro-America nationalist convention thing that was competing with it. And they did a pretty good competition, actually. Had a lot of viewers. I think Nick Fuentes might have tried to go and was kicked out. There was a bunch of people. And last year, other conservatives were kicked out. Trump spoke there, Judicial Watch at CPAC. That's nice. Judicial Watch's Tom Fitton spoke there. I told you guys this yesterday and maybe even the day before. He called out Reddit, the far-left social media site Reddit, for censoring conservatives, Trump supporters. The Donald on Reddit, r/the_Donald, is like the biggest pro-Trump Reddit page, or whatever you call it, on Reddit. And it's been put in quarantine for months now, it seems like. At least a month or two. and they haven't let him out. Quarantine basically means they're being shadow banned. You have to click, yes, I really want to see this, and it's ridiculous. So Nick Fuentes, the 22-year-old, I believe, guy who hosts America First, entertaining guy, used to be alt-right. Now he's just nationalist, and he's like presenting himself really well. Longtime conservative writer Michelle Malkin was at AFPAC. Nick Fuentes and Michelle Malkin and Vincent James and a bunch of other conservative nationalist types. Michelle Malkin likes Jesse Lee Peterson. She's a longtime writer, right? I believe that she's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Not while I was producer, though. She spoke at AFPAC. Oh, but this is where my criticism is. She called herself their mom. Because AFPAC is a bunch of Zoomers, right? Mostly. There's some millennials. There's like Vincent James is a man, like a real, actual man. He's with a family, Catholic, has a bunch of white babies, or, you know, white Hispanic babies. He might have married a Hispanic. I don't know. But solid guy. And then there's Nick Fuentes, who lives, I think he still lives with his mother, and his excuse is the brainwashing excuse that has been put on so many people. It's expensive out there. You'll be wasting your money paying rent and saving money at home living with parents. And that's a brainwashing excuse. It's not right. I don't think that they realize the depths of what they needed. An intervention like Jesse did to me. He did to Joel. He did to so many of you guys. I moved out, and then I moved in, and then I moved out, and then I moved in, and then I moved out again. Because my roommates kept on getting, like, engaged. But anyways, I liked all of those people, by the way. Trump, I like Tom Fitton, those guys who spoke at CPAC, and I like Nick Fuentes and Michelle Malkin. But she called herself their mom. I'm the mommy, or something like that, and they, like, cheered. I'm like, oh, no, that's the last thing you guys need. She's cool, and then she called them kids. And these are 20-something-year-olds. Some of them are probably younger, 18. That's still adult men. They're men. But she called them kids. But CPAC kissing up to the left, and then the actual right-wingers being called kids. There was a bunch of half-decent people over at CPAC, by the way. Owen Schroyer got kicked out, I think, of InfoWars. He interviews Jesse Lee Peterson. Nice, good guy. Patrick Casey, as I said, Gavin McInnes, Jacob Wall, and others. What a mess. Let me get to D out of New Jersey. First-time caller. D, good to hear from you. Thanks for calling. What's up?
Hey, Hake. How's it going?
Doing fine.
I was going to call about CPAC. Did you listen to Donald Trump's speech?
I listened to it, yeah. I was kind of napping while listening to it, but I did listen, yes.
Oh, you missed out, man. That was a good speech that he had. A lot of jokes, funny, everything was good about the speech.
Yeah, you know, I heard it when he was making fun of Mini Mike Bloomberg, talking about, and I could even though I wasn't watching it, I was listening, and I could picture, oh my gosh, he must have ducked down below the podium. And, you know, I missed it again when we played it on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. But, yeah, it sounded pretty good.
Besides that, do you see what's going on down in the border between Turkey and Greece?
You know, I've reported only a little bit about it. I know that one person was reportedly, I don't know if it's true, shot in the mouth and died from it or something. And I know that Turkey has been, they're sick of harboring all of these so-called refugees, migrants or whatever. And so they want to release them into Europe to share the burden. And I don't blame Turkey for wanting to do that, right? I think it's in response to action in Syria, maybe. So it's kind of like they're trying to pressure each other. But, yeah, Greece, they're being held in the island of Lesbos, which is, I think, the source of that word lesbian. But that's a side note. Yeah, what do you say about it?
I don't like it too much. I mean,
yeah,
if Turkey can hold their people who have the same religion and expect other people to hold them. Doesn't make any sense.
Are they Turkish people that are trying to leave?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was in Turkey, which probably is not a great place to live in the first place,
Right.
I would just pretend to be from wherever I am and then just go down to Greece and then go up to whatever country that allows me to go to, right?
Right. Yep.
Well, who knows where they're from, really? But I saw some videos. I don't know if you've seen them where, like, they say these people are on these boats, and then the Greek army. I don't know which base they are, but they go around and you see them, and I see them at the borders, and I see these people that they're recording.
Yeah.
They're recording each other, trying to go through the border, and then they're saying that they're not letting us in, but we will get them. So it's like they're not even. Have you seen the videos?
I haven't, but one other thing that I heard or read was that crime is getting out of control in these holding places where they're being held. They're being held on that island, right, of Lesbos, which is
But if you watch the videos, it's like they're recording each other, and they're like, so for example, let's say I'm recording you, and then one of the guys speaking saying that they are going to let us in, that we will mess them up, and like not in those words, but like. Can you imagine you go to somebody's house and say, if they're going to let us in, are we going to mess their house up?
Yeah, exactly. That's not good. That's not good persuasion, right?
Let you in. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. That's I guess that's what anger will do to these people. These people that want mercy, they are acting like they deserve it, and it's crazy. Entitlement.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But I just want to call to see if you saw those videos. But just want to say your show and Jesse's show is great. I just watched it. So
appreciate that.
Maybe like 2-3 months, and it's been very nice for the most part.
Right on, D. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Let me read a few of the super chats. Did I read this? Did I even read the super chats yesterday? Did I, guys? I think I might have. I think I did. But anyways, oh my gosh. Super Tuesday Super Chats, says Hot Computer Smell. Thank you. Apply for affiliate so we can sub to you, says Dark Side of the Bear. What? Heart. Thank you. Yeah, I think I will. Shouting at Clouds says alt-right is a Richard Spencer thing, not Nick Fuentes. Yeah, that's right. Nick Fuentes is no longer associated at all with the alt-right. And I don't know if he ever was. I just know that he went to Charlottesville. And everybody who went to Charlottesville is not necessarily alt-right. I remember Richard Spencer reporting that it was not just white nationalists, but also even civic nationalists who showed up to this Charlottesville protest against the removal of General Lee's statue in Charlottesville, Virginia, back in August, I think, of 2017. And I would have gone too. Had I been living in the area, and if I knew that the Antifa wasn't going to be there, knowing that Antifa would be there, I might stay home because Antifa is just looking for trouble. I saw what they did to Richard Spencer, just punching the guy, sucker punching the guy on Inauguration Day, I think it was, the day before the Women's March. Wasn't that Inauguration Day? He was just sucker punched by a punk Antifa guy. So I may not have gone for that reason, because I'm not looking to get into a fight with evil people when I know that they're not there for anything good. They're not there to argue and discuss and debate. I did show up to an event where Antifa was, but fortunately up in Modesto, California, at the Straight Pride Parade, we were holding a Straight Pride Parade, or we were participating in it, invited, and Antifa showed up. They were Antifa, but Modesto disallowed them from wearing masks. And when you don't allow criminals to wear masks, they are more hesitant to commit crimes of violence, especially because then their faces are on camera, they get caught, they get doxxed, they're cowards. They're just like the KKK that covered their faces. Actually, they're worse. Yeah. So, let me read the other super chats from YouTube. Oh, man. Giovanni A. Here sticker. Thank you. Elfin says, I'm giving up thoughts for Lent. Wish me luck. And he spelled thoughts an interesting way. Alejandro Davila says, Hake, share your good hair secrets. That's just a tall tale. Percy Perkins, thank you. It's me, Christian says, Hake is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's me, Christian. Call into the show and elaborate, if you really think that. You know, one of the biblical questions, that reminds me, speaking of wolves in sheep's clothing, one of the old biblical questions, by old I mean years ago, of Jesse Lee Peterson, he asked, who is the wolf in sheep's clothing? And that was an interesting biblical question. I used to not like the biblical questions, and I still kind of don't like them because they're like frustrating because you don't know, either you feel like you know the answer, but then you don't, and all that stuff. But that was a good question. Who are the wolves in sheep's clothing? Because it's so often that you will want to point to these people preaching this climate change to the kids. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. These psychologists and so-called climate scientists who don't exist. The UN, the United Nations, which is pure evil. I don't know if there's anything good about the United Nations. Yeah, every now and then, like, they'll do something useful. But on the whole, they're evil. Every bit as evil as the evil people that they're calling out sometimes. But they're also calling out good. They want their snaky little fingers in America, accusing America of racism. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's the temptation is to think, oh, those are the wolves in sheep's clothing. The preachers who, whatever. The cucks, the conservative ink are the wolves in sheep's clothing. And that's true. They are. All of those are wolves in sheep's clothing. But you also have to examine yourself. It's the Jews, the wolves in sheep's clothing. 98% of women, wolves in sheep's clothing. Yeah, all of that is true. UN are cockroaches. Yeah, all of that is true, but you also have to examine yourself. And isn't that such a nice, important point? That's why I really like Jesse's message, because it's really about knowing yourself and getting and examining yourself and checking yourself. Because otherwise, you're just going to sit around complaining, or even if you topple the current corrupt government and you take over, or people like you take over, you're going to end up a wolf in sheep's clothing, because you'll be just another form of evil. Maybe the lesser evil, but it's still bad. It's crazy. So I really liked. Maybe I'll dig that up. We have been putting out old archive church Sunday services on the Bond Rebuilding the Man channel. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube channel. Most of you guys probably are. You guys are like the inner circle. But it's crazy. Oh man, I need Joelle in here. I've been wanting to cover this. It's just a friendly reminder. Joelle, I'm going to put this in the folder. It's from Sunday's show. I want to cover this since I have the time. Don't look yet because it takes a while to drag in, right? Okay. So I don't know if it's in. There are 8 items in this folder. You see it? Yeah. Okay. So, in case you missed it, illegal immigrant crime / immigrant crime. I was watching the Dark Stream last week, or over the weekend. Vox Day, nice guy. He's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. And he seemed to make the point that the following, would have been considered hateful if it were written in fiction, because this guy is a writer of Vox Days. Or at least he publishes fiction writings as well as nonfiction. This is from the Dallas News, May 16th, 2019. It's from several months back. Serial killer. Suspect now charged with smothering a dozen elderly women in Dallas and Collin counties. That's in Texas. Billy Chemirmir. 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 Age 46. He black, he immigrant. Correction, he illegal. He Kenyan. Vox Vox, I think, misremembered him as being Nigerian, but no, he's Kenyan. Kenyans are usually nice. They just run. Oh, except for Obama, if he's really Kenyan. Anyway, this man, Billy Chemirmir, as of May 2019, has been in Dallas County jail since March 2018, facing, I'm showing his picture if you're watching the video, facing a capital murder charge in the death of 81-year-old Lou Tai, or T. Harris, this woman. She Asian, or maybe mixed, looks almost a little bit mixed. Her last name is Harris. Maybe married a white man. So this man is facing a capital murder charge in her death. 81 years old. She's 81. He's 46. Well, she's dead now. He may have done a lot more than just a dozen, though, because he's suspected of a dozen. Criminals usually do much more than what they're caught and charged with doing, by the way. Amren, a very good outlet, Amren, American Renaissance, run by Jared Taylor. The father of the alt-right movement, but a decent man as far as I've known. He's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show and stuff. I met him. A better headline than Dallas News's comes from Daily Mail, and Joel did just show it. Daily Mail reports illegal immigrant, healthcare worker, age 46, tied to 1,000 unexplained deaths of elderly patients in Texas, is charged with smothering 12 women with a pillow. So smothering means when, this is kind of graphic, sorry kids, but when you put a pillow over the person, they can't breathe. He was allegedly killing these old ladies for years, and he's an illegal alien and a healthcare worker. I've known some illegal aliens who got into like nursing school, and they've been like coaches and things like that. That is crazy. I don't know when he came into the country, and he's Kenyan. He's not the Hispanic kind of illegal alien. He's black. And I don't know if he killed any blacks or if he just killed this Asian and a bunch of white ladies. I would imagine. I don't know. Don't want to speculate, but that's crazy. Isn't that crazy? And Vox Day does make an interesting point. We hear all of, you guys know this, right? Hollywood makes these shows, right? Where there's some criminal, right? And nowadays, it's always going to be, almost always going to be like a white man doing like the most awful things imaginable. And some of them do, we know that. But it's so funny because they wouldn't dare make up a movie about this man doing this thing, not for fiction, and definitely not if it's real. Because that breeds anti-immigrant, because they think of them as immigrants. I think that's a misnomer. Illegal aliens should not be considered actual immigrants, but they like to blur that line. The fake news does. You know, the anti-American ABC, CBS, AP, NBC, all those. In some cases, even Fox News does that. But they wouldn't dare make a story about this. They wouldn't make it up. And now that it's actually happened, they definitely won't make a movie about it. Well, some of the conservatives might do the Kermit Gosnell one. Like there were some conservatives who did the Kermit Gosnell, the abortion doctor, who murdered children and women, I think. Kermit Gosnell out of Philadelphia. Black guy. He's a mix. He had some white in him. That's probably where the evil came from, right? Joking around, guys. But I just wanted to share that with you. Shocking little story. Links are going to be in my blog post, thehakereport.com/blog. Let me get to some calls. Lynn out of Chicago. Oh, and Joel, remember in 20 seconds or so, open the chest thing. And I'll open it, guys. For reals this time. Lynn out of Chicago. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you. What's up?
Hey, Hank, how you doing?
Doing fine.
Yeah, I was given how you're talking about all this criminal activity here in the great socialist state of Illinois. The Democratic scumbags here are looking to repeal or looking to make it to where the court system cannot give somebody a life imprisonment. And I believe it's also going on in the state of Michigan. They're doing that as well.
Wow. First, they get rid of the death penalty, which is swift justice, or should be swift, right? And now they're getting rid of life in prison? That is...
They're looking to do it, yeah. And the thing is, the thing that I believe they're not even thinking about, or they probably just don't even care, life imprisonment is not meant to be disciplinary. It's meant to protect the greater society and the people who are most vulnerable to these animals who are out here being feral.
Right. I totally agree. That's and
also,
well, you know what? I actually do agree. It's also a punishment. It's an appropriate punishment. And punishment is not supposed to be so-called rehabilitation. It is supposed to be punishment.
Well, the thing is, some of these people they are incapable of learning.
Yeah.
And
that's the mama spirit. That's the mama spirit, Lynn. I mean, I'm stealing Jesse's point, but I'm glad to steal it because it's true.
Yeah. Also, I was going to tell you here in the great state of Illinois, the mayor of Chicago, she commented on the fact that a 3-year-old was molested by an illegal immigrant who was on a deportation docket. So this guy's supposed to go back to his country, and he was not picked up by ICE because of their activities of the sanctuary garbage.
Wow.
So he was out. I guess he went to get a burger, and then he saw a little kid, and voila. Long story short. And she says, well, and then she's like, well, I still agree we should not be, assisting ICE in whatever manner of speaking.
What a disgusting woman. Lesbian?
Yeah.
Black liberal lesbian. That's Lori Lightfoot for you.
Yeah.
How embarrassing, man. I think often, well, not that often, but I think about one of the countries of Ireland and how they have a homosexual prime minister.
Yeah.
And just how that's humiliating as a country. That's like a shame on the country. And I mean, in all honesty, it's a shame to have an evil leader no matter what. But that's it's ridiculous. And they, women. What a shame.
The other day I was talking to an Irish, I'm in a master's program, and I was talking to one of the Irish guys who's from Ireland. And I asked him, I'm like, man, back in the 1990s when the film The Crying Game came out, was the IRA even angry at that? And he's like, well, no, they weren't. They accepted it.
What's The Crying Game? That movie?
It's a movie. It's a horrible movie that came out back in the 90s. And make a long story short, an IRA... IRA
are the, call them radicals. I don't know if that's a negative or a positive thing. From Ireland, right?
Yeah. They capture a British soldier. They kill him, and before they kill him, they find out he's dating a transsexual, which is a biological male.
Oh.
And then the IRA guy falls in love with the guy. Well, I guess some imitation of love.
Yeah.
So whatever and then he goes and meets the guy's ex-trans girlfriend or whatever, and this is gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to disassociate the word love with what they're doing.
Right.
They're only giving each other a tummy ache.
Yeah. Wow, that's disgusting. That came out in the 90s, huh? I did not know about that. I would not have guessed that because I've heard that movie title in the past. I would not have guessed that it was promoting that type of degeneracy. Is it supposed to be based on a true story or something?
I would hope not, but Boy George sings the theme for it.
Yeah. Boy George is And even he's not radical enough for the people for the radicals nowadays.
Yeah, I guess he snapped back into reality. He took all that makeup off and grew a beard.
Oh, really?
I guess he's not gay enough or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, you're supposed to grow out of it. You're supposed to grow you're supposed to grow out of your degeneracy.
Yeah,
So,
he did a lot of craziness for a while, and
yeah.
I guess he matured. Well, I guess he matured a little bit or something.
Maybe a
like
little. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was a stepping stone to even worse evil. And that's what they're doing with this, getting rid of Jeffrey Epstein, getting rid of Bill O'Reilly, getting rid of this guy that they ousted, Chris Matthews. Whatever you think of those guys, they're being replaced with something worse. So yeah. Anyways, Lynn, it's good to hear from you. Thanks, man.
All right, you have a nice day there, Hank.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Luckiest followers on the D Live treasure chest, Reed Johnson. Thank you, Reed, faithful supporter. Sean Breed, Goy 1M Defender, right on. Port Bear, Mr. Coffee, and the rest of you. Thank you to Hot Computer Smell. Shouting at clouds. Oh yeah, thank you, man. Dark Side of the Bear, what? Noah's Arkansas, Great Awakening, Shaggy Boy, Port Bear, Deplorable Girl, Blas de Lezo, and Reed Johnson. And let me just double check you guys over here. Did I read Marcus Jones sucks? What did he say? Lin Yan Chin says, make white babies for they make the best engineers. Billy the Black Engineer won't do for building giant robots. And he believes in climate change and evolution. But he's not losing sleep over it. And he's not going to teach his kids to lose sleep. And Marcus Jones Sucks says, gulags are more efficient prisoner use than prisons. Yeah, I mean, I support the chain gangs. I don't know about the term gulag. Don't become what you hate. Because it was tempting at one point to, like, you know how like they'd burn. Anyways, I'll talk more about that later. And Jib Jab says, sorry, Joel. Great show. Thumbs up. White thumbs up. Thank you, Jib Jab. All right, guys. We're live tomorrow. And remember, Men's Forum coming up on Thursday. JLPtalk.com for the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. All right, guys. Take care.